It was the summer of 2018, while on a scenic flight in Alaska, that I decided to make a major aviation decision. The scenic flight was out of Talkeetna, Alaska, and flew up around Mount Denali and landed on Ruth Glacier. The aircraft we flew in was a de Havilland Otter powered by a Pratt & Whitney turboprop engine. I had recently earned my commercial pilot rating, so when the pilot asked the group of tourists who would like to sit up in the right seat, my hand shot up first. As we flew through the mountain canyons and the toe of Ruth Glacier, I marveled at the sights before my eyes and had the cameras rolling the whole flight. After we landed on the glacier and got out of the plane, I started talking to the pilot and eventually asked him, "What do I need to do for this job?" He told me their company's policy on the minimum number of total flight hours required, and in addition, an instrument rating and a commercial pilot certificate, all of which I had or nearly had. However, the last requirement they had was tailwheel experience. I had zero. At that point, I went silent and took in another sweeping view of the soaring mountains surrounding me and penetrating upwards into the dark cobalt blue sky above. It was then that I told myself, I'm going to get a tailwheel airplane and build time in it. And observing what was the most popular bush plane flown in Alaska, I knew I had to get it, a Piper Super Cub. A few months later, I purchased November 816 Whiskey Romeo, a PA-18 150 that had originally been purchased by the Israeli Air Force in 1983 as a trainer. In 2016, after being refabricated sometime shortly before that, it had been shipped back to the United States and a new engine put into it before it was put up for sale. After purchasing it, I upgraded the avionics in it, put new and larger tires on it, and had a few other issues resolved with it. And since then, I put hundreds of hours on it, building tailwheel time and improving my stick and rudder skills that have been transferable to the tricycle gear aircraft that I also fly. It was not easy getting comfortable in my Super Cub. Most of my prior aircraft experience was in heavier 150 horsepower, 160 horsepower Cessna Skyhawks and Piper Warriors and Archers. With its own 150 horsepower engine and a max gross weight substantially lighter, November 816 Whiskey Romeo has some dramatically better takeoff and landing performance. And that can be both a blessing and a curse. With that increased performance, it's great for getting yourself out of trouble, but it's also good for getting yourself into it. So the only way to get comfortable in it was for me to fly it regularly and very cautiously at the start. Initially, I flew it only in the mornings or evenings while the winds were light and calm and only on large and wide paved runways. Though, landing a tailwheel on a paved runway is actually more difficult than landing on grass. I find the grass more forgiving, mainly because as soon as you land, you start slowing down much faster than you do when you land on pavement. As a result, the aircraft has a less tendency to do a ground loop. At least that's my opinion. As I gained confidence in November 816 Whiskey Romeo, I opened up my personal limits on my max surface winds and crosswinds that I was willing to take off and land in. I also opened up my limits on the willingness to land at narrower and shorter runways and on grass strips. Now, after many years of flying my Super Cub, I feel like when I'm in it, that is an extension of my body. The only time I don't is when I haven't flown it in a couple of weeks. When there is a spell of time when I haven't flown it, I'll start off by staying in the pattern and knocking off several landings, doing both three-point and wheel landings. When I feel I have those landings dialed back in, I head off to other airports to check them out and to see the scenery en route. Though at this stage of my life, I have passed on the idea of pursuing glacier landings up in Alaska, it hasn't stopped me, however, from landing on ice in November 816 Whiskey Romeo. For the past several years, I have landed at the Alton Bay Ice Runway and capturing each flight on video to share with others. I also frequently visit New Hampshire grass strips to keep up with my short and soft field landing techniques. So my message to anyone interested in pursuing any type of interest, hobby, or career, go for it before you're too old. And when you do, go full send. Totally commit, not just in the form of laying out money, but also in the necessary time and in the pursuit of the required knowledge to fully master your passion.